over the course of the last 2 years, the three winningest programs in terms of win percentage in all of college football called the Big Ten home. As good as Ohio State and Oregon have been at 26-4 and 26-3 respectively, no team is above a 900 winning percentage, save the defending national champion Indiana Hoosiers, a remarkable 27-2 since Curt Cignetti took over in Bloomington. Jerry DiNardo is back with us. You still scratch your head at those numbers, at how quickly Cignetti was able to turn that program from something of an afterthought in the Big Ten to a national champion and do it in unbeaten fashion this past season. And Jerry, typically when that happens, you'll have star coordinators like Bryant Haynes or Mike Shanahan moving on. That's not the case at Indiana. They have such deep ties and loyalty to Curt Cignetti. Very little turnover once again on this staff.
Yeah, this is Coach Sig. I mean, this describes him to a T, right? So they lost one coach, and who did they replace him with? Tino Sunseri, who's been with Sig forever, went to UCLA a couple years ago to be offensive coordinator, and then there was an opening, and he came back. You know, there's a couple reasons why Coach Sig keeps his staff. First of all, he's not a grinder. He doesn't keep everybody in the office at 10 o'clock at night thinking they can reinvent the game. And Rick, the second reason is, I don't know if you know this, but if you Google Coach Cignetti, you're going to find out he wins.
I have been told that, Jerry, and I've heard that that's actually somewhat accurate. There's also something about Curt Cignetti, and he's been that way since the day that he stepped onto the court at a basketball game and told the Indiana crowd exactly what he thought about Purdue and Michigan and Ohio State, and we chuckled. He did it the first time he sat down with you and the rest of the guys in Indianapolis, and he said, we're going to be back here in a year and we're going to win the Big Ten championship. He was only off by 1 year, right? But there's something about that candor and that honesty in today's day and age where everybody's kind of walking on eggshells and making sure they don't say the wrong thing that is appealing to a lot of other coaches and players to be part of Cignetti's aura, if you will.
Yeah, I think now everyone knows what to expect. You know, he's not going to change. I think he does a great job, Rick, at defining his program, defining his way of doing things, and doesn't use a lot of words to do it. He's very direct. He knows what he wants to do, and if you ask him a question, he's going to give you a pretty accurate, short, concise answer to whatever you ask them.
In terms of recruiting, I think this is a fascinating part of what's happening right now in Bloomington, right? Because if you look at the national rankings, Indiana's barely in the top half of the Big Ten for the traditional recruiting. But, Jerry, he's done a terrific job in the transfer portal, and we'll get to quarterbacks like Fernando Mendoza, Curtis Rourke before him, now Josh Hoover coming up this year. But what does it tell you about the recruiting landscape, especially inside the Big Ten, to see Indiana, which I believe ranks right now 8th or 9th in the league in terms of overall recruiting rankings?
Right. I've got him a little bit. I've got him 9th in the Big Ten and 29 national. Now think of this, Rick. 9th in the Big Ten. They've lost 2 games in 2 years, and they're the defending national champion, and they're halfway down the 18-team conference. And what that speaks to how competitive recruiting is. Now, the portal is another thing. And, you know, he's always had a good quarterback, right? I mean, he had Rourke, and then he had Fernando. And this year he brings someone in from TCU, Josh Hoover. So he complements the high school recruiting. But to be 9th in the conference with the kind of record he's had, it just tells you how competitive it is. Defending national championship, and they're halfway in the recruiting rankings. I mean, the amount of talent in this 18-team conference is frightening.
Now, sometimes you take those rankings with a grain of salt, or you pour the salt on the paper that they're on, you crush it up and you throw it in the trash, because the players become something completely different than they were ranked coming out of high school. And you mentioned the portal, and that's where Sig has hit home run after home run. Nobody knew much about Curtis Rourke. He was fantastic. Yes, Fernando Mendoza was highly thought of, but not highly thought of to the point that he developed himself into be the presumptive #1 pick in the NFL draft. And now a lot of people think that Josh Hoover can do, if not similar, close to similar things to what Fernando Mendoza did. And Jerry, I've known Sig for a long time, since he was the quarterback's coach at NC State with a guy named Phillip Rivers, who turned out to be pretty decent at both college and the NFL level as well. He clearly, whether you want to say quarterback whisperer, he understands what that position requires from a coaching perspective, and he understands how to get the most of the guys playing that position.
Yeah, and I would add to this, Rick, about him and the quarterback. He's going to build the offense, obviously, around the quarterback, and that's what most coaches do. So it's not unique to Sig, but he always gets it right. And so you look at Fernando. That game at Penn State when he threw that incredible touchdown pass. I mean, that wasn't set up early in the year. I mean that took a lot to get him to that point, and he'll do the same thing with every quarterback. By mid-season, they would have worked the offense around what that quarterback can do and what he can't do.
Of course, we'll have to wait and see what Josh Hoover is like. A lot of folks wondered, could Fernando Mendoza be better than Curtis Rourke? He certainly was. I don't think a lot of folks are asking Josh Hoover to be better than Fernando Mendoza was. Pretty tough to top a Heisman Trophy winner, but something anywhere close would make Hoosier Nation very happy. Now, listen, Indiana has to get off to a hot start, and they're expected to do exactly that because their non-conference schedule is not as difficult as, say, Ohio State's against Texas or Michigan's, who has to play Oklahoma. There are 3 non-conference games, when you look at the Indiana schedule, are very winnable games. But, Jerry, the back half of their Big Ten schedule gets significantly more difficult.
Yeah, and Coach Sig was asked last year at Media Days in Vegas about his non-conference schedule. And again, with very few words, he told everybody what he was doing. Yeah, we have an SEC non-conference schedule. and that gets him prepared for the early conference schedule, because the back end of the conference schedule is really difficult. And so, this may be the most difficult schedule if you look at that back half of the first 3 years of the Coach Cignetti era in Bloomington. So we're going to have to see, but he'll have plenty of time to get them ready for what I think and you think is the toughest part of their schedule.
Yeah, I think the good news here, those Ohio State and USC games, which are in Week 7 and Week 11 respectively, those are at Memorial Stadium in Bloomington. You do obviously have to go on the road to Michigan, on the road to Washington. A lot of folks believe that going to Washington is much more difficult than you would think, regardless of Jed Fish's roster and what Washington is doing. That being said, Jerry, now, there were expectations heading into 2025. The expectations heading into 2026 are something that a lot of the guys on this roster, because it is going to be a very different roster, have not had to deal with. Indiana sneaks up on no one. Indiana will head into the year, because of their recent success, considered to be a Big Ten and perhaps national championship favorite once again. That makes it a different environment when you step onto the field for that first game in early September.
Yeah, no doubt. The other significant difference about this year is those 13 players from JMU that he had for the first 2 years. You can't underestimate what that can do for a program. It sets your locker room up for success right away when 13 people can share with the rest of the team what this coaching staff's going to be like, what this head coach is going to be like, what the expectations are, what the standards are, all the words that we hear coaches talk about. So it is, in a way, a transition. And obviously, when people go to play Indiana now, it's a lot different than when they went and played. Now, Tom Allen had that one really good year. But other than that, I think Indiana has gotten the attention of all of us, but mostly Indiana's got the attention of the players that historically haven't seen Indiana have success that they're having now. And most opponents will be more ready, perhaps, than any time in the past.
And they will have our attention right here on the Big Ten Network, because we bring you the Indiana Spring Football Game next Thursday. That's April the 23rd. They'll kick things off from Bloomington at 8 o'clock Eastern.